to a Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host for today, Judd. Apparently, our normal hosts, Jasper and James, they're still hungover or trying to drink away the pain from yesterday's result. Today, I'm joined by Mark. Mark's a special guest of ours. He's been on the podcast a couple times. You can follow him at MZK90 on Twitter. How you doing today, Mark?
Yeah, I'm all right, Judd. Thank you for having me on, mate.
Pleasure. And then I'm also joined by another special guest, Clive. Clive, P-A-F-C at all right, let me try that again. On Twitter, he's at Clive, P-A-F-C. How you doing today, Clive?
Yep, I'm good. I'm ready to have a bit of a chat with Mark. Can't wait.
Yeah, well, there's plenty to talk about. All right, well, before we get into the obvious talking points from yesterday, I wanted to get you guys' initial thoughts. Going into the match, what were you guys thinking, and then what did you think after you saw the team sheet? We had Bellerin making his return, the obvious absences of Walcott, Ramsey, and Ox. Koscielny was, selected despite, some fears that he may have been a little bit distracted by last week's events in France. And then Gibbs was given the start on the flank. We'll start with you, Mark. What did you make of it all?
I mean, obviously, I was really pleased to have Bellerin back because I think we're a much better team with him in the side than anyone else we get playing at right back. I wasn't too sure why he'd made the decision about Gibbs. I mean, Gibbs, when he came on as a sub against Spurs, he's coming on again late on in the game against tiring players, and he has got the one good thing about Gibbs is that he has got pace and he does want to get forward. Probably a hangover from his days when he started off as a left sort of winger in his youth. But I wasn't convinced about starting him. I thought, why not leave it with Sanchez left and play Campbell on the right? So the only thing I wondered was it because Campbell had been away with Costa Rica? So I'm not sure if that was the case. But you looked at the team and you kind of thought that West Brom is. I mean, look, they're not great, but it's the kind of game that we seem to struggle with. Pulis is the kind of manager that Wenger seems to struggle against a lot of the time. So I was thinking, this game is one of them games, could go either way, but I certainly thought we had enough in the team to go to West Brom and take some points away from there. It's been a reasonably happy hunting ground for us, so I was fairly confident, but always in the back of your mind there's that nagging thing that whilst Arsenal can beat anyone, we can lose to anyone.
Yeah, we've proven that over the last couple of years. But my thoughts were very similar to yours. I thought, Pulis has always been difficult away wins for Wenger, and West Brom, is a team that has given us a little bit of. I mean, we've had a lot of success, but sometimes it's been a little bit difficult for us to get across the finish line. Clive, what'd you make of it?
Yeah, I've been quite concerned about this next string of games, right? Because as soon as people say we have a set of winnable games, that's when Arsenal do what Arsenal always do, right? So they sort of find a way not to win those winnable games, right? So Pulis teams are normally big and physical. They're going to try to unsettle us. They're going to try to press us. Jakob's quite a physical player. They got some physical big defenders. They're playing McLean. He's a big 6'2", wide man, big and strong. They got Rondon up front. And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a tough one for us, right? Because we've come back after international break. And I'm never sure about our focus after international breaks. But to be honest, they're a poor side at home, and we're one of the best sides away from home. So you're looking at a selection. I'm looking at Gibbs, and I'm thinking, yeah, I can just about get it. He came on, had a massive impact against Spurs, so the manager's trying to reward him. I wonder if he rewarded Gibbs at the cost of Campbell's confidence, but I'm sure we'll get onto that later on. And I'm looking at, we haven't really got much choices. So we talk about team selection, but to be honest, right, the squad's threadbare, right? So there isn't many choices. I am concerned about Koscielny and Mertesacker at the moment. I think we're showing vulnerabilities at centre back, and I personally would have liked to have seen Gabriel start the game. I think he has a lot to prove. I think he's getting very, very close to a starting position, and I feel when he plays, Koscielny has less to think about. I think he has less jobs to think about at the moment, given what's happened in Paris and what's happened in France and where his mental state was. I was really hopeful Gabriel was started so that they could both do their jobs rather than Koscielny trying to do two jobs. But apart from that, there's not much to say on the team steps, and it sort of picks itself.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would have been nice to get a little bit more out of the match, but going into it, I kind of was thinking the same. So anyway, getting on to the match, took a couple minutes to settle in, but once we did, we were looking pretty comfortable. Got the early lead off a set piece from Ozil to Giroud. Ozil's 11th assist in the league already, leading all of Europe. And then shortly after that, or was the injury before that? I can't recall. I apologize. But Coquelin had to come off and was replaced by Arteta. And as we know, we've discussed several times before on the podcast how much of a downgrade is that going from Coquelin to Arteta. And then Arteta was taken off in the 49th minute with an injury of his own. But before that, he gave away a foul that led to a free kick goal, and then was guilty of poor marking on that free kick. And then 5 minutes later, put the ball in the back of our own net off of a tough cross. It looked like it came off his arm. The call for the foul might have been debatable, but what did you guys make of his performance, and how much of a miss will it be having Coquelin out? And as of yet, there's no definite reports on his injury, but they're talking about it being far more serious than Arteta's calf injury and possibly a long spell out. What'd you make of it, Clive?
Oh, mate, here we go, right? So this was the injury that we all feared, right? So Coquelin's had a bit of a dodgy first touch. He's lunged in afterwards. Jakob's is a bit of a mean competitor, right? So he's kicked through the ball. Coquelin's got his leg extended and he's tweaked his medial ligaments straight away. So it's all about damage now. His ligaments are tweaked, they're strained. We hope they're not ruptured. So it's one of those three. If it's a little tweak, it can be a 2-weeker. If it's a strain, it can be a 2 to 3 monther. If it's a rupture, then we say goodbye to him, right? So, and that's where we are. But hang on, we got lots of listeners, right? And every one of them is going to say we should have bought a holding midfielder, we should have bought a striker. So whatever I say now is not going to sound bright. We've known that the gap between Coquelin's performance levels and the two people behind him are way behind him in standards, in intensity, in performance levels. And then Arteta came on. And I loved Mikel Arteta. When Arsenal were left in a situation post Fabregas and Nasri, it was Mikel Arteta that allowed us to sustain our performance levels. He held us together. And there was a period 2 years ago that we couldn't win without him starting, right? So, but that was 2 years ago, and we are where we are right now. And at the moment, he's had a calf problem for maybe up to nearly a year. And when I heard he went off yesterday, I didn't see the game live. I watched bits of it on the stream. I knew what the injury was. He's had operations there to fix that. He's just not at the performance levels or the body level to sustain any sort of Premiership continuity, right? So we are conning ourselves to say that we have a depth of squad in that position because we just don't, right? So maybe I thought Wenger should have brought on Flamini. Coquelin and Flamini are closer in profile. Flamini adds an energy. He adds a pressing and allows Cazorla to do what he does, which is natural, which is work off the bits and pieces and dictate. When you get Arteta comes on, I think you have two dictators, right? And I don't think the mix goes well. I think they're both too slow. They don't want to engage. And we lost it. We had a period between 30 minutes and 45 minutes where we did not focus once we went one up, and we lost the game in that period. And I don't want to blame Arteta, but we've got a number of players, just a couple of players that are in their early 30s. They're just not quite at the level, and it's very obvious.
Yeah, and I think the stat that I saw about Arteta's performance was before he did come off, he didn't manage to have one successful tackle or interception. So, just kind of rubbing salt in the wound.
I don't want to dig him out. It's just,
Yeah, it's just the game's past him.
We're playing at a different game. We're moving the ball quicker. We're more fluid. We're playing one-touch triangles. And I'm afraid he's finding it difficult to keep to the level, right? And it's obvious to everybody. And you're watching it, and you're seeing a player that should be, a hero. And I looked at my timeline yesterday, and he's getting absolutely killed. And I'm not sure if the manager's not been too loyal to him, right? And that's a question for him. But I'm sure Mark's got a view. Can't wait.
I'll tell. Well, listen. I mean, look. I'm not an Arteta fan. Everyone knows that. I'm grateful for what he did when he came to the club. And we needed him at the time, and he did a good job for 2 to 3 seasons. But I think it's long gone since he should have been a part of a first team squad for this club. And I'm not. I agree with what Clive says, and I think to a certain extent, whilst people will think I'm just trying to dig Wenger out with it using a different stick, this is Wenger who's doing this to Arteta. This is Wenger who is forcing Arteta to become a scapegoat with the fans, because he should not have put the faith in him at the start of the season that he has. He should have been more ruthless. He should have said, Mikel, you're a lovely bloke. We'll keep you on as club captain if you want, because you're great with the squad and that, but I can't have you as part of the first team plans. And if Arteta then decides that he wants to move away to get to play another couple of seasons at a different level or a different country, then fine. If he wants to stay, then he stays under that basis and he does his coaching badges as he's doing. But he's not going to play. But it's Wenger that's actually decided, right, Francis Coquelin is my number one holding stroke defensive midfielder that will allow Cazorla to play, and the backup for that I'll manage it somehow between Arteta and Flamini, and that decision could come back to haunt him this season. And I'm disappointed that Arteta is getting these all the pelters that he's getting, because it's not necessarily his fault. It's Wenger's fault, because he's put that faith in him and he continues to sort of pick him. And why on earth yesterday, this is what gets me, is why on earth he thought that Arteta was the man to come on and replace Coquelin instead of Flamini. I just don't understand. I cannot understand. You need someone with some strength, with some legs, to get in and about that midfield and win the ball, break up the play, and give it to Cazorla, give it to Ozil. And Arteta can't do that anymore. He just cannot do that anymore. So I just don't understand that decision. And I think, regardless of the free kick could have been a bit harsh that he gave away. His marking for the goal, well, yeah, it wasn't great, but then that's not really his game, is it? You got to look at other marking. I mean, Mertesacker's marking that he got rinsed by Keown on, where Olsen has just mugged him off and blocked him off, is just ridiculous. And the own goal, well, you could look at why the fuck Ozil's giving the ball away so cheaply there. Why is Koscielny allowing Rondon to travel so far? Why Bellerin? I love Bellerin, but having said earlier how much better a team we are, it was really poor for the goal to not spot the runner coming through on the outside quickly enough to have tried to stop the cross coming in. And Arteta then, he's, what is he supposed to do? He's probably knows he's got to try and cut that cross out. And once the cross is at that height, difficult for him to do much with it. And then he gets injured, but that's Arteta. Somehow people thinking he'd had some miracle operation that was going to cure his calves at his age. I just think that's naive, and I just for his sake, I just really hope he doesn't play much ever again for Arsenal, to be fair.
Yeah,
not holding any punches there.
It's a real shame. I know, but I'm going to come back on that, Judd. Right? The decision to not play Flamini, right? So when I look at a footballer, I look at their profile and what they add, right? And you look at Coquelin, he's busy, he engages, he tackles, he moves it quickly, right? And he's at a high level now. We waited a long time for him, but he's right there. He's a top class centre midfield player on the defensive side, and he's actually decent on the ball. So you look around in our squad, right? So Jack's injured, Ramsey's injured, and you look around and you think, okay, who's going to provide that energy Who's going to provide that intensity and the challenge? We're playing West Brom. They're very British in the nature of how they play. They head it, kick it, second balls. It's about, if you move them about, win that second ball. When they're running back towards their goal, they're not very good, right? So what do? We bring on the player who's a playmaker, who really is the sort of player you bring on last 20 minutes to close out a game. Not when the game is at its edge, right? So I think it was a bad decision to bring on Arteta ahead of Flamini. And Flamini, to be fair to him, I'm not saying I'm not in the Flamini fan club, right? Because I think he's lucky to be at Arsenal given how he left the first time. But he plays with a spirit, with an intensity, and with energy. And he was the closest we have in the club to Coquelin. So I thought it's a poor decision. And what it does is it encourages teams onto us. And if you look at our injuries, particularly to Ramsey, Walcott, and Oxlade-Chamberlain, we've lost power. We've lost dynamism. We've lost energy. And so we lose our most energetic, intense midfielder. And what do? We bring on somebody who's 32, lacking in physicality, not confident in his body, and we bring him on. And I always believe about controlling the controllables. And in my opinion, we did not control that situation with the right decision. And okay, we knocked off for 10 minutes in that game, but we lost the game in that 10 minutes, right? And I'm afraid if you're looking to stick it on somebody, Arteta's 2-1 favourite, but it's a collective thing, right? And we suffered today. And but going forward, for the manager to make that decision, I'd love to know what provoked that decision, because in my opinion, it was the wrong one.
Yeah, I'd agree. And, I've never been one that likes to single out an individual for, allowing a goal. I mean, short of a goalkeeper dropping a corner kick into his own goal, it's rarely down to just one individual, Sorry, Smina, I love you, but well,
yeah.
Moving along, it did, while you were saying it did invite pressure upon us bringing Arteta on, we still did manage to have about 70% of the possession, outshot them. I think it was 11-4 for the match. What did you guys make of the overall tempo of the match? It seemed like after we went down 2-1 for a while there, we still didn't look like we were playing with any urgency.
I think I'll go first, Mark, right? I think the goal was probably, it came easy. Ozil cross, Giroud header, great. At 1-0, there's not one of us that thinks we're losing that game, right? And at 1-0, we are playing decent football in total control. West Brom are very limited. They had McLean down the left-hand side, who had a couple of early crosses. I thought Bellerin was rusty at the start of the game. I thought he improved later on, but I thought he had not a very good first half. I thought the only part of the pitch where they were in ascendancy was on the left-hand side and our right-back side, right? So that was, we changed that right side. And that right side for Arsenal is a problem, right? We're not fixing it through injury and changes, right? It's a problem for us, right? So they got in on that side, and I felt that at 1-0 we were comfortable. I was preparing my night out, right? I'm thinking, this is it. This is great. This is done. We're gonna be top the league. And maybe it was too easy, and I thought we lost focus. Right, the free kick comes across. Olsen pins Mertesacker, and I've got an issue there. We'll talk about that. He pins him too easy. Our centre half is too easy to move, and we lack dominance. We look fragile, and then they score off of that. And then again on that right-hand channel defensively, we didn't react, as Mark alluded to. And that's a problem for me. And that's a trend. I forget the result yesterday. It's a trend. That right-hand channel defensively, inside the Mertesacker channel, inside the fullback channel, through changes, for inconsistency, we are just not robust enough. And we're asking our left side to do too much covering. And what's happening is we're losing our left side. We're losing Koscielny. For many reasons, he's not quite at it. And I think we need to make a change there at centre-half to get back our other centre-half, who's our best defender. We need to make a change. I don't want to see Koscielny doing two jobs at the moment, right? So I think that's a trend. I think that's a problem. It's not just been in the game yesterday. It's at Bayern Munich, we're stepping up. At Spurs, we're stepping up. Our distances were too big. Except for Wednesday, okay, different centre backs, but we're not looking solid there. And I think our centre backs are not. We haven't got the blend right. Yeah, we haven't got the blend right at the moment, and I think it's a problem.
Mark, what do you think?
What was the question? So I got so engrossed listening to Clive there, and he kind of, I think he focused on something. So what was the actual question?
Well, I was just talking about how it seemed like after we were down 2-1, we didn't really turn up the intensity, and even late in the match, it seemed like we were, content to just pass the ball around in their final third outside the box,
and all the possession. Yeah, no, I mean,
yeah.
That's something we've seen this season, isn't it? I mean, even at home to United, United had all the possession, but we destroyed them. We destroyed them in 20 minutes, and then we kind of said, well, all right, you have the possession then, because you're not, you're going to have trouble getting back from 3-0, and we'll just pick you off on the break. But and when you go away, you're kind of expecting the home team should have more, and it was the same at Leicester away. Leicester wanted to come toe to toe with us, which was a big mistake on their part, because as soon as they came toe to toe with us, we picked them off. Now West Brom maybe just went, okay, we'll have the ball, we'll drop back, we'll put our banks in front of our box, and you try and break us, because we know at the end of the day, if we do that, yeah, all you have is your plan A, which is pass, and then it's all about the movement. And if we can restrict your runs, then you're going to have trouble scoring. And I mean, to be fair, when we look at it, I mean, we should have had I mean, I don't know, match of the day didn't show the penalty shout when Olsen rugby tackles Giroud. I cannot understand them not showing that, because that's a penalty.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember seeing it on. Exactly. Probably applied on Twitter. That was see how that wasn't.
No, that was bizarre. They don't think that that's a highlight of the game. Özil hits the post. Campbell, well, I don't know. I'll let Clive try and explain Campbell's miss, because mine would probably involve too many 4-letter words. But we could have got back into that game, and and then we get the penalty, and I'd like to discuss. I think probably it will be a little bolt on to Clive when he talks about Mertesacker and Olsen. I'd like to discuss the penalty situation and the team spirit. But yeah, we did. We looked like it's kind of like it's that thing where they set out their banks and we can't break them down. And we've seen this is a problem at home and can be away. And if a manager wants to sacrifice possession and sacrifice areas of the pitch, then we've got to try and break it down. And certainly, as Clive said, without some dynamism and the pace and the bit of strength that we get from Walcott and Ox and Ramsey, then it has become a bigger problem for us now.
Yeah, I agree, Mark. Judd, I'm going to keep going, mate, because I think what we've done, we've found another way, right? So we found the Özil to Giroud link. But really, that's all we've really got. Santi's a little bit lacking in confidence in front of the goal. Sanchez, I don't know how he keeps finding those performance levels, right? Because he was like close to rigor mortis, and suddenly he produced another top performance on the pitch. He's worked really, really hard. But again, we don't feel as though he's going to execute the last third, because he's a little bit lacking in sharpness and freshness. And we're having to find another way. And Leicester's a great example, right? So when Leicester went up, we just went bang, bang, bang in. Quick, dynamic, powerful, right? And it's almost like our power index has dropped. And those three players, particularly Ramsey, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Walcott, we're not very powerful in centre midfield. We're quite small. But when we transition out of there quickly, we are now giving it to our power players, right? Our transition players. And what's happening is we've lost them. So teams are stepping up on us, and they're becoming more physical. Giroud's done brilliant getting the goals he's got, but we haven't got the two styles of play to get out of the press. We haven't got the ability to move quickly from third to third. We're having to rely very much on set pieces and crosses and bigger distance passes rather than the combination passes and the one-touch triangles, right? So Theo Walcott's a big part of that. Oxlade-Chamberlain, his dribble potential is a big part of that. And Ramsey's constant movement, moving around, getting in on the back stick, is a big part of how we play. And basically, we're watching Arsenal trying to find a way. And at the moment, it works. We got lucky against Everton, if we're honest. Everton, we managed to fight through. Swansea were poor in confidence, and we got through them. Watford, they had a period, but we got through them. But, yesterday it was just one too many. Although, let's be honest, I'm not going to say that the world's going to end, because they were very average, right? And they only had 10 minutes and they managed to win the game. The problem's with us and our ability to get fit players on the pitch so we can play Arsenal football. And at the moment, we haven't got those players on the pitch. And what that does is that reignites the summer. What we did in the summer. What did we do when we found out Welbeck was going to be injured for a while? We chose not to react. What did we do? We looked at Coquelin, looked at his emergence end of last year. We chose not to backfill him with the right type of individual that can backfill him. Now, all those people are waking up, and then we are only a twisted ankle away from having no centre forward, right? And that isn't really how we should be running an elite sporting organisation. We should be risk managing, and we allow people to have a go at us and to test our resilience to win. Do Arsenal want to win enough? Because if they do, they would manage these situations better, right? And we create a debate. And that debate, I can't say that those people saying that right now, when we're watching Joel Campbell tow it past the fast stick, looking without minimal conviction to actually execute, I can't say they're wrong. And I want to say they're wrong, but I can't say that they are. And that's really where we are at the moment.
I'm glad you brought up Joel, because that's where I was going to go next. I don't think I've ever seen a player's public opinion swing so, volatilely in within such a short window of time. During the summer, people are talking about how he's, time to move him on. He has a couple good performances during the year, and we're thinking that he can fill in for Walcott. And then you see the, performance that he put in yesterday. Do you guys think that was part of the reason that Gibbs was selected ahead of him, because of the way that he's been playing in training, or something that we're not seeing? And do you think that, with Walcott's injury, there's talk now that he won't be back until after the new year? Is he going to be enough to fill in the meantime until we get somebody back? I'll start with you, Mark. What do you think?
Joel Campbell. No, look, Joel Campbell he is not good enough for Arsenal. It's like watching Louis Boamorte playing in in the team from back when early Wenger days. He's just not good enough. And what always gets me is that the guy would be playing for, I think, Palermo, if they could have agreed on the fee or the wages, whichever it was. Wenger would quite happily have sold him. But the deal that Wenger wants to fucking approve can't be met, so therefore we're stuck with Joel Campbell. Now, to a certain extent, you think, at least, thank God we were, because if we'd have sold him and not replaced him, then who else would we have? Why what happened yesterday happened, I don't know. Like I say, maybe Campbell was away with Costa Rica, and therefore, that's why Wenger thinks he's better off playing Gibbs, who may have been slightly fresher, although, he was on England duty. I don't know. It's just Groundhog Day watching Joel Campbell playing this team, because he shouldn't be anywhere near a first team match day squad, and yet that's where we're at. And a lot of it is due to injuries. We've got so many players who would be playing in front of him if they weren't all bloody injured at the same time. But this happens every year, every season this happens, and we never seem to learn from it. And whilst you will have some experts on Twitter who will say that the club had a full review, there were professional experts came into the club and reviewed everything around our training practices, our fitness regime, our pitches, and they could not find any reason why we've got the problems we've got. Then what do you put it down to? You put it down to just bad luck. So we are consistently the unluckiest club with injuries? Or is it something else that the experts haven't looked at? Is it the type of player that we're buying? I don't know. But Joel Campbell just... God, I wish he'd listened to that fella at Stoke, to be honest.
I think, Mark, I think basically Joel Campbell, he is the player. When you look at what he has, right, he's a dribbling lefty that plays on the right. He likes a shot. He's a forward. He works hard. So in my mind's eye, his very best game, that's the profile of player this squad actually misses, right? A lefty fast forward that can play either side. That's exactly the signing I'm looking for, right? Or someone who's happy on both sides. And I want him to succeed. But when I look at him, I see moments of 6 out of 10, but I see other moments where he lacks the conviction required to play for a top four club. And it's only a small difference, right, that allows you to play for a Napoli or a Genoa or a Sevilla and earn a great living, have a great career. But you're playing for Arsenal now. You're playing for Arsenal, going for a league championship against, the mega rich clubs of Chelsea, Man City, Man United. We talk about mega organisations, right? And I'm looking at him and I want him to succeed, because he's got all the attributes, but I'm not convinced. And more importantly, he looks like he's won the lottery. He's not convinced. And if he's not showing the belief and the conviction to execute when it really counts, then, this would come back to Wenger's loyalty. I love what he does, how he manages players, how he creates pathways, how he believes in players. But that's the moment for Joel Campbell to repay him. And he didn't take it. And it's a real shame. And Lewis Burmore, that's a great shout, right? Lewis Burmore, a very talented, very quick, had a great career, was never quite good enough for Arsenal. And that's what I feel maybe Joel Campbell, it may happen to him. It's up to him now. He's got an opportunity, but maybe it's missed it. Maybe it's gone. It's fleeting, right? Bellerin took his, and now he's one of the premier right backs in the league. Joel Campbell, this was your moment. Everyone's injured. All you had to do was make these moments work for you, and I'm not sure he's quite taking his chance.
Yeah. So, speaking of the City, you were saying they lost yesterday, and Leicester's now sitting top of the table. We're all within 2 points, the two Manchester clubs, Leicester and ourselves. Obviously it was a big opportunity missed yesterday, dropping the 3 points. We're in a kind of limbo period with all the injuries. But obviously, what are your guys' views going into the holiday season? Do you think that we can stay within shout of the champions, the leaders? I mean, obviously right now it's only 2 points, and it looks like everybody's vulnerable this season. But what do you guys think of our title hopes going into the new year?
If you don't mind, Clive, I'll go first, mate.
Yeah, mate, go.
Who knows? We are looking at this season, and you're seeing that Leicester are on top. Who would have had Leicester on top towards the end of November? It just goes to show that unlike last season, no team has come out and took a grip of the title and said, right, we're going to win this and run away with it, and left everybody else playing catch up. So this season, like a couple of others, maybe not last, but the one before certainly, is an opportunity that somebody could have really taken a grip of it, and it could have been us. But unfortunately, we've not done it for whatever reasons. And the biggest problem that we've got at the moment is the injuries and the lack of players that we've had available over the past few weeks. Now we're all playing Arsenal injury bingo now. We're all thinking, because I don't think many of the fans have got any kind of faith in what comes out of the club in terms of when a player will be back, because we've heard too much bullshit, for the want of a better word, from the club about when a player will be back from injury. So when we hear that players are going to be back after the international break, but Bellerin was really the only one. Ox and Ramsey was still not considered fit enough to actually start or be on the bench yesterday, and we're going into a period now where it's really going to ramp up. I mean, I tweeted yesterday, like, people are saying, we've got 3 very winnable games in the league coming up. Well, it was 4 very winnable games before yesterday's one.
Right.
So, this is where we need to stop looking at a game and saying, oh, this is a winnable game. Any game's winnable, but then when you're playing Arsenal, the other team can say any game's winnable. So we have got a chance of consolidating and picking up some points now. But if it all really depends how quickly we can get those players back from injury, but back fully fit and actually ready to play, not rushing them back so that they're going to break down again. Because that's the last thing we need now is to have any more injury issues with, as Clive's pointed out, Walcott, Ramsey or Ox, because we really are struggling without those three. And also it's about managing the workload of Alexis, because I do think Alexis, whilst he's not knocking in the goals, he is still very key to this team. And I'm really concerned that yet again yesterday, I think he played the 90 minutes, having played both matches for Chile during the week. And when is he going to get a rest? People keep saying he needs to be rested. How can we rest the guy? It's difficult to rest him when you can't see that we can bring someone in who's going to really do what he's doing for us. So I don't know. If everybody else keeps playing as shit as they've been playing, we could still be in with a chance come April. But I think it's going to be difficult unless we get a huge amount of more positive luck with injuries than the negative luck we've been getting. And then it comes down to, do we do any business in January in terms of trying to bring in something to freshen up the squad?
Yeah, it's never really been, Wenger's MO to make changes in the middle of the season. I think, Podolski was signed in January but didn't join until the summer, and I'm struggling to think of who else that we've brought in January that's really, made an impact for the rest of the season. We had the Thierry Henry loan. I'm struggling. But, the one thing is, you were saying we do have, quote unquote, winnable games coming up. But at the same time, we've got sandwiched in there 2 Champions League must-win matches, one at home, one in Turkey. We do have, I think it's Norwich, Sunderland, and Villa along with those in the league. So, you couldn't really ask for better league opponents, I suppose, when you're trying to, go on in European nights and win those matches. Do you think, though, that, we'll be able to get through that? What are you like, what are your prospects for Champions League qualification? Clive, what's your take on it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right on the games. I think these games, Sunderland, Villa, and Norwich, you look at our opposition, they're not going to drop too many points against those teams, right? So I look at the season in blocks of games, right? So if you add those games to our European games, those European games mean something. So that straight away means we can't be jogging through Zagreb and Olympiacos. So are we gonna bust the gut against these European teams because of how we mismanaged the first 2 games in Europe, and then potentially drop points against Sunderland when no one else will? I mean, we are really in a critical period. This period now is about points accumulation and positioning for next year, right? So for next calendar year. So what we do in Europe, if it's in our control, is that's going to be crucial, and what we do in the league. And when we get to playing the big boys, we got Southampton, we got Man City in late December, and if we're positioned correctly, we're more likely to have more players back to do what we want to do on the pitch. So these absolutely numpty Category C games against Norwich and those type of teams, it's still 3 points, right? And those 3 points create pressure. So when we play Man City, we're in contact with them. The Man City can't come and go for a draw. They've got to try to beat us, right? So it creates a different game. So we're really in an important position. And all I wanted yesterday was, okay, we didn't have the luck of the green. We didn't have anything go for us. A few things happened that we focused on around certain individuals and certain positions. But we just walk away with a 2-2 there. That could be really important, right? So if we're playing Man City come 21st of December, then you know what? If we're 2 points ahead, they've got to come and play us. And suddenly Theo Walcott's out on the pitch and Oxlade-Chamberlain's out on the pitch, and it's a different game, right? So it's very important how we accumulate points right now, and to create that absolute persona of we are here to win. And so we got a few trends going on, right? We got a few trends when we are brittle at centre half, we are conceding one or too many goals, and we're encouraging people to press onto us, right? That's because of our injuries, right? We've lost our speed and power. So we need to add some speed when we can. And I spoke about Mertesacker earlier. I don't think he's been playing at the moment because this team needs something else. We need to be able to leave our centre-backs one-on-one and be comfortable, right? So we can press teams back from full-back, use our good full-backs to get around the sides, to create the power differential that we've lost through Ramsey, Walcott and Oxlade-Chamberlain. And it's just these small decisions, right, which are really important. Am I worried? Yeah, absolutely I'm worried, right? Because Zagreb, I think they're a poor side. I think we should beat them. But I don't think Olympiacos are. They're not. It's going to be very difficult to beat them by 2 at home. And then not at a cost of some league points. And then you look at this.
We've struggled in Turkey quite a bit recently, too.
Yeah, exactly. So you look at it and you say, actually, we've done this to ourselves. We've created a situation that's limiting our ambition, right, in both Europe and in the league. And Arsenal, at the moment, we have an opportunity to win the league. But let's be honest, right? I love the club, right? I love everything about the club. But our record in Europe is absolutely disgraceful for a club of our size. And we need to build a squad, be able to manage the Champions League and manage the Premiership. And that should be our ambition. If there's one lesson from this season already, is that if we're going to position ourselves as the number one team in London and should we win the league, we've got to show the ambition to allow us to achieve those targets, really. And at the moment, we're watching a group that's very tired, very stretched, and it's limiting how we're watching the game. I'm watching the game like a physio, and I shouldn't be. I should watch it like a fan. And that really worries me, really.
Yeah, I apologize. I think I've said Turkey a couple times. I meant to say Greece. But you were saying, it's important for us to accumulate points in the league right now. As Giles pointed out a tweet from at Orbino on Twitter breaking down Wenger's points per month. And it was very interesting. Every month except for November, he averages between 1.9 and, like 2.25. Throughout his entire career at Arsenal. But then when you see the month of November, we average 1.6 points per match in the league. What do you guys put that down to? Is it because we've been in, the Champions League every year under his reign, and we're always, that's when the end of the group fixtures is coming together? What do you guys make of it? I'll start with you, Mark.
Well, I guess there has to be some kind of explanation for it. It happens so regularly that it can't just be that the Premier League give us shitty fixtures every November, and it's just not feasible. You'd like to think that it's not in the back of the players' minds that they think, oh, fucking hell, it's November. Time for us to all fall apart. We all struggle. So I don't know. You then do think, is it something about the way Wenger prepares his teams physically for a season that they're ready for the first game of the season? Oops. They're ready for the first game of the season and the start of the Champions League, and then, as you say, once you get to that bit towards the end of the group stages, we're focusing on that, and maybe we're coming to a bit of a lull in our physical fitness, and then it picks up after the new year for the running. Maybe it's a deliberate ploy. I mean, I know that people talk about periodization and all this, and Clive will know a lot more about that sort of thing than me. But and so maybe that's why it is. But at the end of the day, you just look at it and you think just take each game as it comes, and look at each game and put the best team out that you can, make the right decisions, and try and win the games. And I mean, it's like there's why. There's no rhyme or reason for us losing that game yesterday. Yes, there was some bad luck, but generally it came down to some poor pieces of play from us, and possibly, as Clive has said, one poor, unfathomable decision by the manager when he had to replace Coquelin. So I don't know why it is, that it's like that in November. I just hope it's not psychological, because that would just be absolutely piss poor.
Yeah, I've never really looked at November and thought, oh, well, it's November, and oh, it's all going to go wrong. But there is a trend there, right? And I haven't really got an answer. I do look at our Arsenal's ability to manage 3 competitions, right? So what tends to happen, you start the season in the league, and then 2 other competitions kick in at the same time. You get the Champions League, and you get the Carling Cup. And that's when our manager has decisions to make, right? And I often think he's better when the squad is threadbare, right? If he's got the right balance. When he's got depth decisions to make, you can get it wrong. We can all get it wrong. And I think he gets it wrong at times, right? And it's easy to say in hindsight, and I don't want to criticise him because I think the man's a genius, but we don't manage 3 games a week very well, and we never have done, right? So what we have done well this year, we've managed the league really well. We've managed to get our focus in the league. Our focus in cup competitions has been very poor, very inconsistent. The players that have stepped in haven't been at the right levels. They haven't taken on the mantle and said, I want to play first 11 for Arsenal. They've just gone out there and jogged, right? And so I think it's an issue for us, right? And what I'm looking at with this Arsenal team is I'm seeing something very positive, and I want us to change our mentality to say, well, you know what, we need to change our mentality to not just to be about qualifying for tournaments and earning money, but actually really focusing on winning these moments. And to be fair to the group yesterday, I thought our focus was decent. I thought we were unlucky. I didn't see a Zagreb. I didn't see Olympiacos. I saw a team that knocked off for 10 minutes and got punished and wasn't able, through luck and through bad finishing and quality, to get us back. And let's not talk about it. We missed a penalty, right, last 10 minutes. So that's a 2-2 game. We go home down the motorway, job done. That's a 2-2 game yesterday at worst. And we managed to find a way to lose it. And maybe that is our problem, right? We don't draw enough when we don't hit the mark, right? We managed to do it against Spurs, but we didn't do it against West Ham, and we didn't do it yesterday. And that's 2 points. But I tell you, that could be critical 2 points at some point in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, that's the difference between us and the top of the table. As we're running down on time here, I wanted to just get to a couple listener questions. I want to just go ahead and real quickly thank Lee Johnson and Martin Morgan. They were talking about, why did we bring on Flamini and, the urgency in the game. I think we covered both of those topics pretty well earlier on. But we've got a question here from By the Cub Flam at HPJ Gooner. Great name there. Will we ever learn our lessons with injuries and falling, playing it when we fall behind, or is that down to Wenger and won't be changed until after he's gone? What do you think, Clive?
I think for me, injuries happen. I think I have a greater concern about diagnosis. I think we wait too long sometimes to go for an operation, right? So I think Welbeck's a great example, right? He got injured in April. He's had an operation in September. That's a lot of months of resting and hoping he's going to come back. So that concerns me. It's happened to Jack before. He's had a knock. A month or 2 later, he has an operation. And it's those elongated times that actually impact the recovery periods. When they do come back, they're softer in their muscles and they get injured again. Right? Or we bring them back as soon as we can and they go again. Right? Or they come back, and because they've been out for a couple of months longer, it takes them a month or so to come back to form. And really, it's not just us. The demand of the Premier League is massively increasing, and I'm wondering if we have to look at football slightly differently, right? And really not just talk about a squad game, but really deliver a squad game where players are not playing 15 games on the bounce in high intensity positions, right? It's almost like I watch baseball sometimes when I go to the States, and their lead pitcher cannot pitch every night. It's just not possible. right? And maybe we've got to think about that with our wide men and our forwards in more dynamic positions. Aaron Ramsey, can he continually be the highest person crossing the ground every single game and not have an injury? We have to manage him and take him out for a couple and not have our favourites out there, right? And I think we have to look at the game differently, and not just us. Look at Man City; they're struggling. Man United haven't got a centre forward right now. We're not the only ones, right? Everyone's struggling with injury, but it's frustrating for Arsenal because we got a chance, and it's limiting our ambition. And I think, to be honest, we all think we got the worst situation, but I do think the quality of player we're missing is really hurting us, right? And it's hurting the ones we have out there, and it's frustrating, but I hope we can get some back soon.
Yeah, and then we had just one more from Doug Singer at the Brother Doug. He said, should our biggest concern be the lack of clinical finishing? Although credit to West Brom, they defended very compact. I'll go ahead and give you that one to you, Mark, and then you had a couple comments about some players.
Clinical finishing. Well, we're not the most clinical of finishers, are we? To be perfectly honest, but I mean, I wouldn't say it was a huge issue at the moment. I don't think that's what's costing us. I don't think we're being profligate in games, and that's what's costing us. What is costing us, and it goes back to the question that Clive's just answered so eloquently, is the fact that we cannot rely on having a first team squad of players that are rotatable. I mean, at the start of the season, I'm sure we'd have all looked at it, and there were probably people debating who will be first choice right back. Is it Bellerin? Is it Debuchy? Bellerin came on a storm, but can he actually replicate that again, being so young? Will he have second season syndrome? Debuchy's a quality player, but we've seen that Debuchy, when he's been asked to come in, he's not quite been at the races, and that's because he's being asked to come in and play when all he's doing is training. There is no other match preparation for the guys that are not playing anymore. There is no reserve team football for these guys. So you sit Debuchy down, and all he does is train. You sit him on the bench, and then he has to come in, and he's struggling with the pace of the game. And then all that happens is people get on his back, and his confidence drops, and it's just a cycle then that he goes through. We need to look at that, I think, before we look at finishing. In terms of finishing, yeah, obviously, I think anyone, and probably Mesut Ozil would be the biggest proponent of this, is if we had a proper world-class clinical finish striker in front of Mesut Ozil, it would be better than Giroud. In Giroud's defence, I think I heard on Match of the Day he's got 9 goals in 11 games, which you can't knock. He's no Jamie Vardy. Kidding, but we would do better. But we know that those strikers are not particularly out there at the moment that you can just go and buy without it being a real battle to get them, and without spending a shitload of money. So I don't know. I think it's more about, I think we could do with what we're doing, but only if we can keep those players fit and also a little bit more rotation, where that rotation provides them with a bit more match sharpness, rather than, oh, okay, Debuchy, I know you haven't played for like 5 or 6 games, but we need you to come in now and play against this decent right winger who's going to tear you a new arsehole.
Yeah. Can I come back on that, Chuck? I think Mark,
sure, go ahead.
I think I've had an issue really with not the players that we have, but the type of players that we have. So, okay, maybe none of us knew that Bellerin was going to be so good, right? So what he's provided is allowed Ramsey to play right mid, right? So because Ramsey doesn't have to go to the corner flag anymore and whip it in, he can play tight inside, add an overload inside, and just be creative from a slightly wider position. But when Bellerin's out, we then play Debuchy, and he's a different type of right back, which means we lose the partnership with a Ramsey, and we've got to change the other person in front of him. If we are going to play a squad game, we need to define what our pattern is, what our player profile is for X position, and then buy 2 of them. So on the left-hand side, our left-backs are pretty similar. So we're better on the left-hand side. Our centre-backs, we've got 2 players that are quite calm, good distributing centre-backs in Mertesacker and Chambers. And we've got 2 dogs in Gabriel and Koscielny. So we've got options there. We're quite strong there. Do you know what I mean? But then you look around the pitch, and then you look at Oxlade-Chamberlain, you look at Alexis. Yeah, I can see it. different type of centre forward. That's not a bad thing. But we do need to think about that second layer. They've got to be a similar type of player. So when we make changes, we don't change our style. I look at 3 players, well, maybe 2 that I've got a slight issue with. It's nothing against them. It's just that they're far away from their Premier players, right? So Arteta's one. He's so far away from the player that's playing ahead of him. And then none of us have spoken about Thomas Rosicky. He's getting paid 60 grand a week, and he's just a figment of our imagination. He's just never on the pitch. And that player, we could do with him now. And if he's not going to be on the pitch, should he be at the club? Right? And it comes back to having this fictitious imagination view of squad depth when really the player profiles are so different that when we make changes, are we the same Arsenal? And I think that's something the management need to look at to make sure we have got those wide, tricky wingers and we're not left with Kieran Gibbs playing left midfield or Ramsey playing right midfield. We need to make sure we can play the Arsenal way when we have players drop out. And that's our developmental step for me for next year.
Then Mark, you had a couple comments?
Yeah, I was just I wanted to just bring up this point because I'd be interested to get Clive's view on it. Was something that really sort of pissed me off in the game yesterday was at the point where we won the penalty. Now, we win a penalty, and obviously Santi is first choice penalty taker once Arteta's back in the ambulance. But what got me was that Gardner did shithousing.
I spotted him.
And can't say I blame him because you know what I mean. I was a centre half and I was a shithousing centre half, so I'm not going to dig him out for it. But he went and he's trying his utmost. He's putting Santi off. He's just really getting in his ear. He's chirping in his ear to put him off. Yeah, and no one. I think it took ages, and then I think possibly Giroud came and maybe tried to sort of get him away from Santi. But, there's no one doing anything about it. In the meantime, then Olsen wanders over to the ball and like probably moves the ball. Now, I know some people were saying, did he sort of make any conscious effort to dig up the turf on the side of the ball to make it makes Santi slip? I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too Area 51. But he definitely goes and he does something that disrupts the whole thing and delays it and puts Santi under more pressure. And then Santi takes the kick and he misses it. And then two things strike me with that. Yeah. The first thing is, where is a fucking Arsenal player who is going to be? There must have been 5 or 6 Arsenal players within 4 or 5 yards of Kafula at that point. Where is one of them going over and picking him up and getting his head up and saying, all right, listen, look, fine, don't worry about that. We've still got a few minutes. Let's try and get back in this game. Yeah, and if we get another penalty, you bang it away next time. No one. Then Gardner comes over. And whether or not he's rubbing it in or whatever, I don't give it. Someone should be over there and get fucking Gardner away from him and say, mate, just, fuck off. But there is nothing. And this is what gets me, is that this Arsenal team is full of players who are probably far too nice to dig out a Premier League title win when the chips are down. Because they don't have enough. If you take Wilshere and you take Coquelin out of that side, I don't think there's anyone else really that's got much bollocks in that team, other than Gabriel as well. The rest of them, they're all like lovely fellas, and great, terrific. If that would be great if I wanted to go out for a beer with them. Unfortunately, I don't. I want to watch them fucking go out and win a game and dig themselves out of shit situations and fight for each other. But I can't see it, and it's something that really pisses me off, as you can probably tell. And now I'm
hardly noticed.
I know. And now I'm just going to ask Clive. Clive, what do you think about that?
No, mate, I have to say, I thought I was a bit weak. I thought I was the only one that spotted that, right? But you've hit the nail right on the head. I thought they disrupted him massively on that penalty kick, right? And Clattenburg allowed it to happen, right? And Cazorla, he was actually pretty crushed when he missed that. Because he was chipping that down the middle. It was a 2-2 game. We go home, right? And I'm looking at I look at the balance of the team, right? And I think we're just too nice. We're just too nice to dig it out.
So once Cazorla goes off, you don't bring on another Coquelin goes off, you don't bring on another nice boy. You bring on someone to say, we're here. We can see what you're doing. We can see you, Morrison. We can see you, Gardner. We can see you, McLean. You're clipping ankles as we're breaking past you. Tactical fouls. And we're gonna dig back at you. We did it against Spurs, Families come on and he's fought back and we pushed Spurs back and they were hanging on for last 10. We're just a bit nice. And it's only 1 point. And City have lost, and Man United are rubbish, and Chelsea are too far away. Liverpool had their moments. They're the new superpower of the world, followed closely behind Spurs. But you know what? We're still there. But if we're going to win this, we need to get serious, right? Because it's right there for us. And not every game is like the first 90 minutes against Manchester United at home. Sometimes you got to dig in, you got to fight, you got to scratch, you got to get your 1-0. Once you go up, the next 10 minutes, nothing happens in my area. And that's football, right? And I'm afraid we knocked off. We were too nice. We thought it was over. And I think you got half a point there, Mark. You're not totally mental on this one. I thought we didn't show enough team spirit. We got punished, right? We're way better than them. And I'm not going to cry myself to sleep. But hopefully we learn from it and make sure next time when it's that close, we deliver and get the points.
I'm glad I'm not totally mental, just partly mental. Thanks, Clive.
It's partly mental. No,
yeah.
I looked at it
backhanded compliment there. Thank you.
You're not totally weird. You're not totally mental. You actually spotted something. And it's something that we should take away, right? As a group of players, we should take that away, right? And say, you know what? We need to show more here because there's no way West Brom should be getting what they got out of that game. And to be fair to Tony Pulis, he just said we got the luck today. And we got the luck. There was no gloating like the Stoke days. We got the luck. We were lucky. We held out. And they've got away at the points. And hopefully we can take a lesson from it in the next string of so-called winnable games. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, as the old saying goes, nice guys finish last. And it's amazing how, one result can change the thoughts on everything so drastically. If we had been able to nick the win yesterday and left there 2-1 instead of 1-2, this podcast has a completely different tone as we're sitting top of the league right now. But on that note, I want to go ahead and thank you guys for joining me tonight. Thanks, Mark.
No problem. Thank you again, Judd. Thanks, Clive.
Yeah, thank you, Clive.
Yeah, great. I really enjoyed it. Top man, Mark. Cheers, mate.
And with that, I'd like to say goodnight and thanks for listening. You can follow us at the GoonerRamble.com on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, and obviously Twitter. Thanks again for listening and good night.